to the social media derby. For those of you watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like the video and share it if you can. And as always, if you have any comments or you want to discuss anything that we're talking about, please leave a comment down below. For those of you listening on Spotify, Apple, or any other podcasting platform, as always, please follow and give us a 5-star review if you can. It really helps us get more people's eyes and ears, I guess, onto the show. Let's get into the games. We're going to start off with the Chelsea-Man United game. Obviously, the result ended in a 4-3, really exciting match between the two teams, with just the dominant team just shifting from one to the other over and over again. Gallagher scores really quickly inside 5 minutes. Something we're going to talk about later. Antony commits a foul on, I believe it was Cucurella. That gives a penalty away. Palmer puts it away, as he always does, Cole Palmer and all that. And then somehow Man United at like the 30th minute turn it on. Garnacho and Bruno score, make it 2-2 going into half time. And it's all up for grabs, really. Antony, cheeky little Trivela assist, one of the best assists I've seen this season to set up Garnacho for a 3-2. And then I don't know what happens from there, mate. It's just a blur from that point on. I guess you guys just, your fell out again. And they managed to get a late double with one penalty, which again contentious. I know that you're gonna talk about, and then just a deflected shot that was just horrible closing down from your team. But let's get into some of the, I guess, the important, let's say, topics. I'm going to start with this one because I know that you and I differ in our opinions. Antony foul on Cucurella, penalty or not?
Yeah, I'm 100% that's not a penalty. But at the same time, I think I've softened a little bit because I understand what you're saying. Your stance was it's soft, but it gets given. Antony's kind of a bit stupid to even put his foot kind of near Cucurella, which, you know what, I don't even disagree with you. Like, I don't disagree. All the penalties that Man U have conceded, and sadly I can say all, in the last week, have been kind of similar in that way, where our defender has done something which has opened the door for a dirty, scummy cheater to con the ref into making it a penalty. And in this case, I actually quite like Cucurella. He's absolutely hot garbage and shit player, but he does amazingly to sucker the ref into giving the penalty for that. So I'm not like, I hear your point on that. You're not biased though, you dirty that's not a penalty. But I get it. Antony's an idiot as well. Like, in that game, amazing going forward, stupid as hell doing that. Like, I will not differ from your opinion on that. Antony's an idiot for even allowing Cucurella to let his floppy hair fall on the ground like that and get the penalty. But for me, I get it. I saw the angle, or the one that you, because obviously you shared it about 5 times on the bloody WhatsApp chat. But I've also seen the other angles that's going around everywhere on Twitter, where Antony's legs planted, but he doesn't actually make contact with Cucurella. Cucurella flops, and of course, from the angle you sent me and the one that was on Sky, people give penalties for that, and I don't even blame the ref. Like, if there was no VAR, I'd go, you know what, he's done him, but what can the ref do?
So,
like, he
do
can
you
only
think
see
that
it
was
from
clear
one
and
angle.
obvious? Like, do you think it was clear and obvious enough for it to be overturned?
Yeah, but we all know that. No, we all know that this clear and obvious stuff is bollocks. What's clear and obvious? The only clear and obvious I've ever seen since VAR has come in is the Luis Diaz onside debacle at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. That's the only clear and obvious I've seen. Everything else is either not a penalty, not a goal, is a penalty, is a goal, but it's not like, I don't know, what we're using as clear and obvious. For me, that's never a penalty. And we've had 3 penalties given against us in these 2 games we're about to analyse. And I don't think, spoiler alert, you can skip forward now. I don't think any one is a penalty. But this one is not a penalty for me. So I didn't actually see the goals go in. I can't remember what I was doing, but I was doing something else and I wasn't actually watching the game live until, I think I just had internet issues or whatever, and I couldn't get to see the game live. And by the time I joined the game, it was 2-0, and you were sending me chats saying, "Oh God, like Cole Palmer and all this kind of stuff," and we're flopping it. So yeah, I don't think that was a penalty, man. I know you're about to say you think it is, but I would say no pen. And VAR is a disgrace, disgracia for not overturning it.
So yeah, all right. I'm going to give my alternative perspective on this, and obviously, for those listening, please let us know if you agree or disagree with me, because I really don't know which way is up at this point when it comes to penalties or fouls, right? But I mean, the point I make is, right, yes, Antony is so stupid for putting himself in a position where Cucurella is literally running diagonally away from goal to the point where he's not even really a threat. He's very stupid for putting himself in a position for it even to look like from any angle it was a penalty, because when you're running at that pace, everything looks, especially in real speed, everything looks like it's a penalty even if you don't touch anyone, right? And we've seen a lot of disgraceful penalties given where you barely touch people. I think a good example is like the Mudryk one that Chelsea got. I think the game before that against Burnley, right? I think it was Assignon or whatever got sent off for what, in my opinion, wasn't a penalty either. Running at full pace again, right? So that's my first point. But do I think that's enough for someone to have a penalty given against them just because they were in a stupid position? No, theoretically, it shouldn't be enough. The referee should know what's what and not give it. My point, I think I'm coming around to it a little bit on this, is there's really like a couple of main questions you have to ask, right? Number one, was contact made? And if it was made, was it enough for the man to go down? That's the first question that has to be asked whenever a penalty is given or we're talking about penalties. Number two, did he touch the ball? And if he touched the ball, was it enough to dispossess the player who had the ball? Because it's like the Gabby Jesus penalty that we'll get onto later, right? Tariq Lamptey touches the ball, but he doesn't get the ball away from Gabby Jesus, and Gabby Jesus would have gone on and got it, right? So my point is, if he touches the ball, it doesn't really matter if he hasn't dispossessed the player, especially if he then goes through and smashes the player and takes him out of being able to go and get the ball. So in my opinion, it really comes down to those two things. Did you touch the man? And if so, have you stopped him from running on to get the ball? Number two, have you touched the ball? And if you did, was it enough to dispossess the man from the ball? And I think if you can answer those two questions, and let's say, did you touch the man is a yes, did you touch the ball is a no, it's a penalty. This is my point, right? It's like, it doesn't seem like any questions are really being answered or there's any real like guidelines for it. But in my opinion, there was a touch on Antony. And in this day and age, if you touch anybody, it appears to be a penalty. Oh, sorry, yeah. And Antony does he touches Cucurella. And if you touch someone, it's in this day and age, you can't leave it up to that kind of decision, because if you touch them, you're probably going to get a penalty given against you for the most part, right? So I genuinely think under today's rules and under some of the penalties I've seen this season, that probably belongs with them. Do I think fairly it should be a penalty? Probably not. But today, the way that they've defined penalties is so poor that I can only judge it off of what I've seen previously given this season. And I'll say it's soft, yes, but in comparison to some of the other penalties I've seen given, it's about middle-ish, I'm going to say. But I know you disagree, and I think that gets us onto a second point, which is the second penalty that you've given away. I don't know what Dalot is doing. He just falls.
He slips over. He just
falls down.
He's obviously knackered, and he slips over, and then that's what.
And
Madueke, causes the incident.
I think it's Madueke, right? He kind of
it is
just falls down. And in real time again, it looks like, what the hell are you doing? Again, Ant, penalty or not?
That's not a penalty. And you know what? At the time when it happened, I was devastated. And I'm in a bloody Man U chat for tickets, yeah. So they're ahead of me. They're ahead of me. They're ahead of the stream that I'm watching, and they're saying, "Oh God, Dalot, you prat," or whatever. And they've been onto Dalot the whole game because he didn't have the greatest game. And then I saw it happen, and I'm like, "You're an absolute prat. You're such an idiot," because it looks like he stumbled over and just basically thrown Madueke on the floor. And then you watch the bloody angles because VAR are faffing about, and Madueke's just completely NBA style flopped, and Dalot barely touched him. I'm being probably kind to him to say barely, because I don't even know if he did touch him at all. And I think, you know what, going back to your previous point, I get it. If you have a line drawn in the sand, any sort of touch. We're not talking about what like actually laying hands on someone, but like any sort of touch, and you can police it by having some sort of LBW style, I don't know, audio system where you can just tell as soon as someone touches another person, then fair dues. But we're never going to get there. And until then, it's going to be so subjective what is actually a foul where you've kicked someone or you've stopped them from doing something, or whether or not you've just literally just touched them, like brushed them. And I think he may have touched Madueke, but not touched him, if you get what I'm saying. So I don't think that's a penalty. Looking at it back, I think he's done the ref again. By the way, that ref's a dirty scouser as well. It got revealed that he's a Liverpool fan. Though why is he refereeing Man U matches if he's a Liverpool fan? God knows, right? Yeah. Of course, he's bloody ready, trigger happy, ready to point his stupid little flipping Cumberland sausage to the penalty spot, and he gives a penalty. It's not a penalty. I've watched it back. It's not a penalty. So we're 2 for 2 being screwed over by that prat. It's not a penalty at all. No chance. But okay. Dallo, he falls over Madueke again. Like, it's fresh out the diving squad. He just flops, and he does him. So fair enough. He cons the ref, and they get the penalty. But to be honest, it's a disgrace. It's like back to Arteta, disgracia. They did not look like scoring after Garnacho scored that goal. Unbelievable assist by Antony, by the way. After Garnacho scores that goal, they don't look like they're going to score for weeks, and it literally had to be an incident like that for them to get back in the game. And then we can talk about how terrible the last goal is. But
the last point I'll make on the penalties is not only that, but you've given away 2 penalties against the team that scores flipping every penalty. Right? Again, Cole Palmer. I don't want to buy into the hype, but my brother does not miss penalties. They come on. I can buy into the hype, of course, but I'm not going to be like sort of what Chelsea fans are saying about him, right? But yeah, you've given 2 penalties away to like the team and the player that does not miss penalties. What?
what are Chelsea fans saying? Have I missed some Chelsea?
Obviously the whole like the whole. No, it's the whole Foden Saka conversation, right? Now they're trying to butt their noses in and say, "All right, it's time for us to put him in there, and he's better than both of them." Ridiculous. And I'm not taking any of that yet, right? It's been half a season, or let's say 2/3, 3/4 of a season. Set yourselves down, lads. But anyway, getting back to my point, he's a baller, he is. But after that penalty, again, it's a constant theme now with Man United. You're fall out. And you just stop doing the basic jobs of a football team, right? So I think just after the penalty, they have an attack and Nico Jackson completely fluffs it. He just ruins something that was a really exciting chance. They managed to get a corner off for it. None of you go out to even look at Palmer, let alone close him down. And he manages to get a shot off, which bounces off of, I think, McTominay into the goal. Yeah, what is going on with Man United right now? Why can't you keep a lead?
No idea. 2 times in a week. Obviously, the Brentford one that we discussed last week on the pod.
Yeah.
Which was a complete smash and grab. But still, we should have seen that game out. We should have. Like, that's a winning goal by Mount.
Man United of old sees that game out. No problem.
Well, a good team sees it out. You don't even have to be some mythical Sir Alex Ferguson team to see that out. A good, well-managed, experienced team with bottle can see that game out. And then you come away with it with 3 points and you say, well done, you've absolutely got away with one there. But that's what good teams do and all the cliches come out. This one, I actually think we were deserving. There's the one thing that Ten Hag said after this game that actually agreed that we should have won that game. After Chelsea had an unbelievable first 20 minutes, but I think after that, it was a good 50-50 game and we've got more experienced players. And I feel like we were fair game to win that game 3-2. At worst, 3-3. But obviously, once it goes 3-3, you see from the kickoff, like we just went ultra attacking on Football Manager. Like we put everyone up to the halfway line, played a long ball up, and just went ultra attacking. And that's where the chance that comes straight off, like feels like 10 seconds after the goal, that second chance comes. where you say Nico Jackson fluffed it, but Harry Maguire puts an unbelievable block in. And you know I'm not someone to give Maguire loads and loads of praise, but that block was unbelievable. But then, like you said, just like the loss of concentration, loss of bottle, just everything, just naivety. I don't know what they're doing. Like Cole Palmer has basically torn Dallo a new one the whole game. He scored 2 penalties, which I know you're the penalty police. You hate it when we judge penalty goals, right? So it's not like he'd been playing amazing, but they were penalties that he scored. Don't close him down. He's the one player. It's not like they went and left bloody Axel Disaster, unmarked or something like that. They've left their best player. Go and close him down. Yeah. But they're just faffing about. You can see it from the goal that we conceded against Liverpool today. Our organisation defending from corners is abysmal. So I think that plays a part. And I think we kind of bottle it, to be honest. And it's interesting because we've had so many of these games. Like, I feel like we can repeat this kind of rhetoric on so many games this season. It's just a leopard doesn't change its spots, and that's what we are. We're the bottling leopard. We're not going to stop that until we change the players. And
so that brings me to an important point, right? Bottling. We talked about it a lot with Arsenal last year, right? We bottled it. Is it the players or the manager? Why? Like, who is the cause of you guys being 93rd minute and letting 2 goals in, or 90th minute and letting 2 goals in? Who gets the blame for that?
I don't think it's one or the other. I think they both play a part, but I'm gonna attribute more blame to the players. They're on the pitch, right? So this is the thing. I heard Redknapp waffle a lot out of his stupid ass about Kobbie Mainoo on the Liverpool game, and we'll talk about that a bit later. But the point I'll make later is there's got to be, and it ties into this, there's got to be some professional pride, and there's got to be something that you take the onus yourself and make a decision on the pitch to do. So even if Ten Hag's saying, mark this zone, mark that zone, don't do this, don't do that, in all of his pre-game stuff and halftime and whatever, if you can see following his instructions are going to cause a problem, you have to take the ownership to make a different decision that you know will help the team. And our players, number one, don't look like they bloody understand what Ten Hag wants them to do. Number two, completely incapable of taking ownership over their own decisions and making a decision that will help the team. And that the corner's a really good example. I don't really believe you need to have like the best corner set piece coach in the world to be good at them. At least not defending them. Maybe attacking them. I get it. You might need to come up with different routines and that. But defending them, like, how long have corners been a big part of the game? Since it was created or whenever it was introduced. Come on, man. You need to know how to do that. And especially short corners, blocking someone from the short corner. It doesn't really matter that it's Cole Palmer. That just adds injury into insult, right? But you've got to go and do better. So, bottle jobs. I'm not going to be Don Robbie and be all sensitive about it. We've been bottle jobs. We've been bottle jobs all season. We weren't bottle jobs under the same manager last season. But all I can say is, I'm going to get the violins out. We've had a lot of injuries. A lot of the players that we played this season, a lot of the players that we played this season, not all of them are the same as last season. So there are a difference in players. We've seen more minutes for Maguire, more minutes for McTominay, more minutes for a lot of players that didn't necessarily get minutes last season, and they've just proven themselves to be what they are, which sadly is not up to this level. So that's it. Let's move on to the next game.